Alright, y'all. Today is my 3rd anniversary. I wanted to pick some flower for my wife. Alright, so, baby, this one's for you. I love you. Happy anniversary. What I'm going to be talking about today, and this one will be more so for the husbands, but ladies, tag your husbands. Because believe me, he's going to want to see this, and you're going to want him to see it. So what I want to talk about is if you are a husband, Jesus is the standard. Not whatever culture on TikTok, Facebook, or whatever is trying to tell you. It's coming along pretty well. So what I was saying is, Jesus is the standard for a man in your marriage. And what we can go to is Ephesians chapter 5, verse 25. Husband, right? Love your wife just as Christ loved the church, and he gave him up for her. So, yes, every man, every husband can be like, oh yes, of course I'd die for my wife. This heroic machoism, right? But will you live for her? Will you love her in a sense where, yes, you would obviously give your life for them, but will you live a life of servitude for them? Servant leadership, and that's where I'm going to next. So, everybody's thinking, oh, in this scenario, bad guy's pulling up, right? And he's going to shoot her. He's going to stab her. He's going to do something bad, right? And of course I'll protect my wife, but will you admit when you're wrong? Will you listen when she's telling you that her feelings are hurt? Will you take the L in the fight so that you guys can resolve it, right? I always tell my wife, you're the only person I'm okay losing to. And that's the truth. She's the only one that I'm every day, day in and day out, losing to. Because if she's winning, I'm winning. Even if you win an argument, nobody wins, right? If I'm in an argument with my wife and I win that argument, then we both lose. The only win to an argument is if you both win. And there is no winner, right? You need to sit down and resolve it. Everybody's feelings are heard. And you know what? The other day I did this, and husbands, try this next time. We were getting a little heated, and I just walked over and I just grabbed her and gave her a big hug. And I was like, you know what? I love you. What I wanted to do is be like, you insert whatever kind of names, right? But that's not how Jesus has taught us to love each other. All right, so the next one, let's see. So, also, men out there, everybody wants to be the big, strong man of the house, right? Absolute. But with that, Mark chapter 10, verses 43 through 45. Whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant. Whoever wants to be first must be slave of all. For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve. Servant leadership. Everybody thinks, oh yes, I'll be the man of the house and I'll have free range and what I say will go. No, that's not how it works. If you want to lead, you have to do it by serving your wife and your family. Servant leadership. Jesus washed the feet of the disciples. Jesus was regularly out there in the streets, right? With the sick, the lame, the poor, the whores, right? Prostitutes. And I'm not saying to do that. What I'm saying is humble yourself. That is a God-appointed responsibility, and your job as a husband, as the leader of the home, is to do it through servitude. You make sure your wife's needs are met, your children's needs are met, the house needs are met, and then at the very end, yours. That's just how it works. That's what being the leader means. Putting yourself last and the well-being of your wife first and foremost, long before the kids, and also then the children. Because just like what I was saying yesterday, if your relationship is steady, then that provides stability for your children. And that's the goal, right? Everybody thinks, oh, if I live for my kids, then they'll be just so happy. No, if you live for your kids, you'll get a divorce. I know, I did it. Proverbs chapter 18, verse 22. He who finds a wife finds what is good and receives favor from the Lord. This is what God wants you to do. Point blank, period. I've heard a teenage girl say that once. It's our job, man. We find a good wife, right? Someone you can take home to mama, and you will be in God's favor. John chapter 13, verses 14 through 15. Now that I, Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also should wash one another's feet. I have set an example that you should do as I have done for you. Right? Jesus came, lived a perfect life, died for our sins. Right? Will you live for your wife? Live for your children? Live a life of servitude, humble yourself, and honor your family. Be a sinful man. Don't step out of your marriage. Don't lust after other women. Lead by example. Be the man that you want to see your children or your men grow up to, your boys grow up to be. And be the man that you want your daughters to marry. Set that standard. Hold it high and don't compromise. Philippians chapter 2, verses 3 through 4. Do nothing out of self-ambition or vain conceit, rather in humility. Value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interest, but each of you to the interest of others. And this one is the heavy hitter, guys. Are you ready? 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 4 through 7. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no records of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices in the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. So, men, if you want to be a man of God and you want to love your family, this is how you do it. Don't keep track of the wrongdoings. Don't keep score. Forgive just as Jesus has forgiven us. Because that's what we want, so that's what we give, right? Romans 12, verse 10. Be devoted to one another in love. Honor one another above yourselves. So, honor each other above yourselves. That's the only way to have a successful marriage. That's the only way to have a godly marriage. Ecclesiastes chapter 9, verse 9. Enjoy life with your wife, whom you love, all the days of this meaningless life that God has given you under the sun. For this is not your lot in life, and in your toilsome labor under the sun. So, I don't know about you guys, but I can tell you wholeheartedly, I did not feel like my life had much purpose before I met my wife. And men, maybe we'll get a consensus, see if anybody feels any differently. But my life every single day is purpose-driven and meaningful because I have charity. It just is. Everything is more profound. I know I'm living in line with God's plan. It's not easy every day, I'll tell you that. But that you never told us that it was going to be easy. Here's another good one for you all out there. 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 7. Husbands, the same way be considerate as you live with your wives and treat them with respect as the weaker partner and as heir with you of the gracious gift of life, so that nothing will hinder your prayers. So be respectful, honor them. So in honor of my anniversary today, put some comments down below about, tell me about your love story. Ladies, tell me about your man of God. Men, tell me about that beautiful bride of yours. Let's hype each other up, right? That's what this is all about. Let's hype each other up. So, husbands, tell me about your amazing bride. And women, tell me about your amazing husband that's following God's path, God's calling to love you like Christ loved the church. All right, in the spirit of things, since it is my anniversary, I'm going to kind of over my wife a little bit, guys. So I'm going to do a little story time here while I'm out picking wildflowers for my wife. Year is 2021. Gone through a pretty messy divorce. Was still going through a messy divorce at the time, but dating a classy individual. I made a Tinder profile. I was trying to get my life aligned with what I felt like God was telling me to do. I was taking my kids to church. I was working my job, staying the path, and I kept an open mind about the man that I wanted to be for my future wife. And that's how I viewed it at the time. I knew my story wasn't over. I knew I wanted to marry, and I knew I wanted Charity. I just didn't know her name yet, right? So Charity and I kind of talking on Tinder just a little bit, a really strong connection, and then we both kind of busy with life, right? Knew from her profile picture she was gorgeous, and she had blue hair, and she was an EMT. So moving forward, you get busy with your kids. She was busy with her kids, so was I, right? So every night that I worked at the contract that I was at, I was looking for the girl with the blue hair every night. So oddly enough, the girl with the blue hair came in one night, and somehow I missed her. I don't get it, but she saw me. Thank God. Hit up a few of my coworkers and gave them my number to give to me, but somehow it never made it to me. Fast forward a little bit. I'm on my way to take my mom to a dentist appointment, and I'm looking through some of my old messages, and I'll be honest with you, I had blocked her because I thought, well, girl kind of off, wasn't really paying much attention to me. It just dropped off, so it is what it is. But I was looking through my blocked messages, and I saw that she had wrote me, and I was like, oh, guess I was wrong. So I shot her a couple messages, and I'm like, hey, would you want to go on a breakfast date? And if you guys ever want to know the magic of what a breakfast date does when you're dating, can tag below at Right Breakfast Date, and I'll send you the reason why this was so important. But believe me, this was methodical. It's no ill intention. It's actually the opposite, right? So, accepts. We go to this really nice breakfast place that was kind of good reputation there in town. I can tell you hands down, that was the strongest connection that I've ever had to another human being in my entire life in one conversation. It was so natural. Conversation flowed. There was no silences. And I'm not saying you can't have an amazing marriage and still have some awkwardness, but that was just my experience, right? We didn't have any awkward conversation. There was no lulls in the conversation. I knew right then and there that she was amazing. I was just completely enamored by her. So, and I'll be honest with you, even myself, I consider myself a logical human being. I fell in love with her and knew she was going to be my wife the very first week that we got together. And I was like, I'm insane, right? Of course, I didn't tell her that because you don't want to run them off. But I knew the first week. I was like, I'm going to marry this woman. And I did. So by no means was it easy. Both were very broken individuals. But here's the beauty about this. In a safe environment, broken people can heal. And we healed together. Definitely has not been easy. It's been a daily commitment to one another, to making improvements. And when we say, I'm going to do better, and this is one of my favorite things that I like to say because it's completely vulnerable, it's completely honest. When you've done something wrong, when you've hurt the person that you love, they don't want excuses. What they want is an action plan. They want to know, one, that they've been hurt. They want to know that you care, right? Your partner needs to know that you care about their feelings, and they need to know that you're going to do better, right? And I'm not saying I don't ever backslide or repeat things that have hurt their feelings before, but I can tell you wholeheartedly that when I say I'm going to try to do better, I will do better. I mean it. And every time, every resolution of every argument, that is my promise to her, is if I have hurt her in some way, because He has called me to love lead and protect this woman. My job is not to hurt her emotionally, physically, mentally, whatever it be. That is what I do. That is how I handle that. That's how I resolve conflict. She does the same for me. You need to know your relationship. Some people want a formal apology of hearing you say, I am sorry. Because the truth is, there's a lot of people out there that, especially if they've been in previous relationships, were unhealthy, previous marriages that were unhealthy. A lot of times, hearing I'm sorry or I was wrong is not something that they're used to, something that they heard before. So it's very important for them to hear that, to feel validated, to feel understood, to understand that you are comprehending the gravity of what they're saying, how they're feeling, and how serious it is to them, right? But ladies and gentlemen, what I'm saying is the most profound relationship in your life should be your marriage. It should bring value. It should bring purpose. It should bring humility and grace and countless happy memories. All I can tell you, speaking from experience, not all marriages are made by God. Some of them were just you forcing something that was never meant to work, and it's not actually God's plan. And I wholeheartedly believe that. Just because you get up there and do the ceremony doesn't mean that it was God's plan, because my last marriage was not God's plan. It was forced, and it felt forced the entire time. Are this giving you daily purpose, right? And if it's not filling you full of joy, if it's not in line with God's plan, right, then you need to do one of two things. You either need to buckle down and put in some serious work, right? Daily commitment to your spouse. And that's what I would advise everybody to start with. Take an honest assessment with your spouse. Sit down and talk to each other. Go to marriage counseling if you need to. Do the hard work. Or two, if you know that it's not in line with God's plan, that you guys not equally yoked, as they say, can't have a relationship. And so the scripture about being equally yoked, if I'm a man of God, if I have married someone who is not a woman of God, it will never, ever pan out. Now, I believe our job as husbands is to try to, we lead them in the right spiritual direction. If your spouse is just hell-bent against the church being a man or woman of God, you're unequally yoked then. And I highly recommend that you take inventory of everything in your life and of your relationship and make that hard decision. Not every marriage is the marriage that God has intended for you. Sometimes it's just you made really bad decisions. Sometimes you forced something that God knew that was not going to make it. You probably knew that it wasn't going to make it, but for some reason or another, you push for it. Whether, your parents are just pushing you to get married, maybe they're pregnant. This is real talk here, guys. We're not talking from the pulpit here. We're talking from my car. The truth is, a lot of marriages are forged because we just think that's the right thing to do, and it's not God's plan for you. I never knew this until everything played out the way that it did in my life, but not every marriage is God's plan. If you have to, get a divorce. And I know a lot of people in the church are going to be like, oh my gosh. Well, that's just how it is. And if you're listening to what God's telling you, if people can make mistakes in their life about their job, if they can commit sin and be forgiven, God will forgive you for getting a divorce. That's just the truth. I'm not saying to throw it around casually. Communicate with God about it. Make sure that this is the right thing to do. But if it is draining you spiritually, mentally, physically, if there is abuse, whether it be physical or emotional or mental, if there is rape within your marriage, get out. Get a restraining order. Get a divorce. And get out there and get yourself healthy and find your soulmate that God has found for you. It's God's plan, I can tell you wholeheartedly. I'm married to Charity because that was God's plan for me. And I can tell you one thing, I'm not going to mess it up. God brought her into my life. God made her for me and I for her. I'm not going to be the reason why this fails, and neither will she. I'm going to show up every single day. I'm going to love her like Jesus loved the church. I'm going to lead with a servant leadership. Make sure that her needs are met, my children's needs are met, the house's needs are met, and then I will be dead last every time. Because that's how God has called me and every other man and the head of our families, right, to lead. It's not by bossing people around. It's by pulling up the rear, making sure everybody's good, making sure everybody's emotional, physical, spiritual needs are met. That's how you lead. I know this has been a long one today. I hope that it has brought some enrichment to your life. I hope I can reinvigorate your marriage today. Today's my anniversary. Yeah, all filled up with the emotions, but you know what? Treat every day like it's your anniversary. Treat every day like it's your wedding day. Remember the reason why you fell in love with this person, and go and tell them that you love them. Ask them what you can do for them. Ask them what you can do better. I'm hoping that this brought some sort of value to your life today, and I pray that we can just fill this world up full of happy, purposeful, God-centered marriages. You guys all have a blessed day, and I love you.